Have you ever done everything right in a relationship, yet somehow it still falls apart? You were respectful, attentive, kind, even vulnerable, but instead of deepening the connection, she pulled away, and you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? What if the real problem isn't you, but what you were taught about women? Because while men are told to appeal to logic, women live in an emotional world. And attraction, real attraction, isn't rational, it's subconscious, deep, emotional, and often unspoken. At the Chill Stoic, we don't believe in tricks or manipulation. We believe in truth, guided by Stoic wisdom, modern psychology, and emotional clarity, so you can stop guessing and start understanding what women are really drawn to. Let's begin with the first insight: steadfastness. Part 1. Why steadfast men are irresistible. In a world of instant gratification, women are surrounded by men offering attention, DMs filled with compliments, dating apps buzzing with matches. But that abundance creates emotional fatigue, because most of those men are inconsistent. They show up strong, then fade without warning. They promise and disappear. They're charming when it's easy and distant when it matters. And women have learned not to trust words, but patterns. Not to listen to promises, but to pay attention to consistency. Modern psychology confirms this. A study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships ranked dependability as one of the top 5 emotional needs women seek in a long-term partner. It matters more than appearance, more than income, and far more than status. Being steadfast doesn't mean being rigid. It means being grounded, clear, and present. It's doing what you said you would do, even when no one is watching. And in a world full of noise, that kind of follow-through becomes magnetic. Start small. If you say you'll call, call. If you make plans, show up, early and ready. Each small promise kept builds silent trust, and that trust becomes desire. Because while a woman may be entertained by the unpredictable, she is deeply drawn to the man she can count on, not because he's perfect, but because he's real. And in the chaos of modern dating, real is rare. Part 2. The silent power of real confidence. Confidence. It's the word you've heard 1,000 times, and yet so few truly understand it. Most men mistake it for arrogance, loud words, big gestures, and the need to impress. But real confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. True confidence is quiet, grounded, and steady. It's the calm presence of a man who doesn't need approval to feel valuable. He walks into a room not to be noticed, but because he belongs. And that sense of inner certainty, women feel it immediately. You see, women are deeply intuitive. They pick up on the subtlest cues, your posture, your tone, even your pauses. When a man's confidence is real, it puts her at ease. She doesn't have to wonder if he's faking it, because his energy speaks louder than words ever could. Psychologically, this goes back to emotional safety. A woman's nervous system is wired to seek protection, physically and emotionally. When a man is calm, centered, and self-assured, she feels that safety. Not the kind that comes from dominance, but from a man who's in control of himself. Real confidence doesn't come from your job, your looks, or your bank account, because those things can be taken away. Confidence that lasts comes from knowing your worth, even when the world says otherwise. It's a Stoic truth. Your value lies in how you carry yourself, not what you carry. Start small. Set promises to yourself and keep them. Wake up when you said you would. Finish the task you avoided. Each time you honor your word to yourself, you become more whole, more certain, more magnetic. Because the man who doesn't chase validation is the one who receives it naturally. And in the eyes of a woman, few things are more attractive than a man who doesn't need her to feel powerful, but chooses to share his strength with her. Part 3. The deep allure of ambition. Ambition is not about wealth, status, or chasing fame. It's about direction. It's about waking up with purpose, driven by something bigger than comfort. And that energy, it captivates women in ways most men don't realize. We live in a time where complacency is disguised as contentment, but deep down, no one respects stagnation, especially not women. Because ambition isn't just about achievement, it's about motion, progress, becoming. When a woman sees a man who is reaching for more, not because he's lacking, but because he refuses to settle, she feels inspired. She sees vision, she sees fire, and instinctively she wants to walk beside it. Neuroscience backs this up. Studies on mate selection consistently show that women are drawn to men who demonstrate long-term goal orientation and resilience. It signals safety, resourcefulness, and a future that's going somewhere. But here's the mistake many men make. They talk about ambition, but don't live it. Ambition isn't in your words. It's in your habits, in how you spend your mornings, in how you handle failure, in what you do when no one is watching. You don't need to be building an empire, you just need to be building yourself. Learn a new skill, improve your health, push your limits. Ambition isn't about proving you're great. It's about never accepting average. And when she sees that you're moving, that you're growing, that you're becoming, she'll want to be part of your journey. Not because you need her, but because your direction creates gravity. Because in a world of men drifting, the one who walks with purpose becomes unforgettable. Part 4. The mystery and power of the bad boy archetype. There's a reason why women are drawn to the bad boy. It's not because he treats them poorly or because they enjoy being hurt. It's because he carries something rare, emotional independence and unpredictability, and that taps directly into the emotional wiring of female attraction. The bad boy doesn't chase. He doesn't seek permission to exist, he owns his space, speaks his truth, and moves with unapologetic presence. And that energy feels thrilling to women, because it's uncontainable. From a psychological view, this archetype activates the dopamine reward system. Women become emotionally engaged when they don't know what to expect. A little mystery, a touch of distance, and suddenly, everything he does carries more weight. But here's the truth most miss. You don't need to be reckless to embody this power. You just need to stop over-explaining, over-giving, and over-texting. Hold some things back. Keep a bit of mystery. Make her wonder. Be a man with his own life, a man whose happiness doesn't depend on her attention, because when she senses that you're emotionally self-sufficient, her desire deepens, not because you're unavailable, but because you're untouchable, in the best way. And when you combine that mystery with kindness, intention, and emotional control, you become the rarest man of all. The one who gives her both the safety of depth and the excitement of the unknown. Because attraction doesn't grow in predictability, it grows in polarity, in contrast, in curiosity. And the man who understands this doesn't need to chase, he simply lets her come closer. Part 5. The paradox of ignored attention. Why less is often more. We live in a world where attention is cheap. With one post, a woman can receive hundreds of likes, messages, and compliments, all without even leaving her room. But when validation becomes constant, it also becomes meaningless. And that's where your power begins. Women don't crave attention. They crave the kind that feels earned, the kind that carries weight because it isn't handed out freely. When you give too much, too soon, your presence loses value. But when you hold back, strategically and with calm confidence, it becomes rare. This isn't about playing games, it's about understanding human nature. Scarcity increases value. The man who doesn't instantly react, who isn't always available, becomes the one she thinks about when the noise fades. Neurologically, the human brain releases more dopamine during uncertainty than during reward. That's why she checks her phone when you don't reply immediately. That's why she replays your words when you leave space for silence. So stop over-investing in someone who hasn't yet earned your energy. Don't be cold, but be selective. Let her reach toward you. Let her wonder what you're thinking. Because when your attention becomes a privilege, not a default, she will value every glance, word, and gesture tenfold. You don't need to disappear. You just need to stop proving. Let her come to you, not because you manipulated her emotions, but because you honored your own value. And in doing so, you become the opposite of every man who gave too much, too fast, and lost everything because of it. Part 6. Pre-selection. Why desire breeds desire. There's something deeply primal about watching others want what we don't yet have. In psychology, it's called social proof. And when it comes to attraction, nothing communicates value to a woman faster than knowing that other women already see it in you. Pre-selection isn't about bragging. It's not about showing off or collecting attention. It's about subtle signals. A woman sees you speaking comfortably with other women, laughing without needing to impress, and something shifts in her perception. You go from being a stranger to being a prize. Evolution plays a role here. Studies in evolutionary psychology show that women subconsciously evaluate a man's desirability based on his perceived value to other women. If someone else has vetted you, she assumes you're safe, interesting, and worth exploring. That's why men in relationships are often pursued more than those who are single. It's not about stealing, it's about curiosity. What is it about this man that made her choose him? And could he choose me too? You don't need to fake popularity. Just cultivate genuine connections with women, friends, colleagues, even strangers you treat with respect. Let those moments exist naturally without seeking outcome. Because a man who is comfortable around women without needing anything from them radiates quiet authority. She doesn't want someone every woman chases. She wants someone who is wanted, but chooses with intention. When you're that man, she'll feel both admiration and challenge, and in her heart, that's the most compelling combination of all. Part 7. The timeless pull of masculinity. Masculinity isn't about domination or control. It's about presence, a calm, grounded energy that doesn't flinch in chaos and doesn't collapse under pressure. And in a world that often feels unstable, that kind of presence is magnetic. Modern society may blur gender lines, but biology remains quietly consistent. Women are neurologically wired to feel safest with men who project strength, emotional, mental, and, when necessary, physical. Not aggressiveness, but resilience. Not force, but steady protection. This doesn't mean being emotionless, it means being emotionally anchored. When storms come, hers or yours, you don't get swept away. You listen, assess, respond, not with panic, but with direction. That's what masculinity looks like at its most powerful. Psychologists call it emotional containment, the ability to feel deeply without being ruled by those feelings. Women respond to it instinctively, because it signals leadership, control, and trust. A man who cannot regulate himself, cannot protect, cannot guide, cannot truly connect. You don't build masculinity through image. You build it through responsibility. Take ownership of your choices. Face discomfort. Be the one who steps forward when others hesitate. Because that's the energy she doesn't just notice, it's the one she remembers. And in the quiet balance between gentleness and grit, you become more than a man. You become her anchor. Part 8. Charismatic leadership. Leading without controlling. Leadership isn't about barking orders or controlling every outcome. It's about clarity, direction, and the ability to move forward without needing constant approval. And in relationships, this type of energy changes everything. A woman doesn't want to carry the full emotional weight of a relationship. She doesn't want to plan every detail, make every decision, or constantly ask you to take initiative. What she longs for, quietly, deeply, is a man who leads with warmth and vision. This is what we call charismatic leadership. It isn't forceful. It's steady, respectful, and grounded in self-awareness. You take responsibility. You make decisions, not to overpower her, but to free her from always needing to. Research in relational psychology shows that women associate decisive leadership with emotional security. When a man knows where he's going and invites her into that journey, it builds trust. She feels chosen, not chased, guided, not pressured. Charisma comes not just from what you say, but from how you listen, how you move, and how you act when no one's watching. It's in your confidence without arrogance, in your presence without performance. So the next time you're with her, decide where to go. Set the tone for the evening. Lead the conversation with purpose and curiosity. She doesn't want to be controlled. She wants to feel safe in the presence of someone who knows the way. Because the truth is, when you lead with clarity and care, she'll follow not because she has to, but because she wants to. Part 9. Emotional intelligence, the unseen superpower. Most men believe women want someone who can solve their problems. But the truth is, what she wants first, what she needs, is to be understood. Emotional intelligence isn't about sensitivity, it's about presence, perception, and the ability to navigate emotion without getting lost in it. When she shares something painful, don't rush to fix it. Don't interrupt with logic or strategy. Just listen. Stay with her in that space. Let her feel seen without feeling judged. Neuroscience confirms this need. The female brain is wired for emotional processing. When a man listens with calm empathy, it activates the same neural pathways as physical comfort. She feels safer, closer, more connected. But emotional intelligence isn't only about her, it's about you. A man who knows his own triggers, who breathes before reacting, who speaks with intention instead of impulse, becomes unshakable, and that calm becomes a haven she wants to return to. Next time she's upset, pause, look her in the eye, ask how she feels, not just what happened. Hold space, not just answers, because when she realizes that her emotions don't overwhelm you, she will trust you with more of her world. Emotional intelligence is not a weakness, it's mastery, the quiet strength that makes her feel safe enough to open and cherished enough to stay. Part 10. Passion. The fire she feels before you even speak. There's something magnetic about a man who's fully alive in his purpose. You feel it before he speaks. It's in his eyes, his energy, the way he talks about what he loves, that fire. It draws her in. Passion isn't about impressing her. It's about being so connected to your craft, your mission, or your growth that she can't help but feel the pull. Because a man on fire lights up everything around him, and in that glow, she sees possibility. Psychologists call this intrinsic motivation. When your drive comes from within, not external approval, it activates the same reward centers in the brain that romantic connection does. In other words, your passion can become attraction. But here's the key. Your passion has to be real, not staged, not borrowed, not tailored to what you think she wants. It has to be yours, pursued with consistency and care even when no one is watching. Whether it's your career, your creativity, your physical health, or a side project that lights you up, go all in. Let her witness you becoming, not for her, but for yourself. Because when she sees you chase something bigger than her, she'll want to chase it with you. And that's the truth few men understand. You don't attract her by focusing on her. You attract her by becoming you fully, fearlessly, and without apology. These 10 truths are not tricks. They're mirrors. They reveal who you must become, not to control a woman's heart, but to awaken your own. In attraction, as in life, the greatest power comes not from force, but from alignment. Align your actions with your values. Align your confidence with truth, and align your desire for love with your willingness to grow. Because in the end, when you become a man of steadiness, depth, direction, and heart, you won't have to chase her. She'll already feel you coming. If this message stirred something in you, if it helped you see attraction through a deeper lens, then take a moment to breathe it in. Because the journey of becoming isn't about changing for others, it's about returning to who you truly are. At the Chill Stoic, we believe wisdom should feel calm, not chaotic. And love. True love begins with understanding. Not just her, but yourself. If you found value here, give this video a like so the algorithm knows men still seek depth. Subscribe if you're ready to step off the surface and into something real. And share this with a brother who needs to hear what the world won't tell him. You don't need to be louder, you need to be clearer. You don't need to chase, you need to become. And the right one will recognize it when you do. See you in the next one.